Greetings, REM PCs, and welcome to Insight Check, the show where we provide precious insight into your favorite and most beloved members of the REM Alternis community. I'm your host, Derekah Kingery, and once I played Hermione Granger in a movie. I'm here with Ava. Thanks for being here, Ava.
Thanks for having me.
It's so good to get to talk to you outside of the various characters that you play. I know, especially on Dresden, it's been fun watching and seeing the antics that happen and kind of joining in the harassing of people, particularly Tom. It's been really good to catch the episodes that I have. I'm definitely going to need to catch up on YouTube. Check out the YouTube.
Although maybe not the early episodes, because my Irish accent was horrible early episodes. I think it took me probably like 10 or 12 to get to actually get to where it sounds somewhat natural, which I've been told it does now, but I haven't asked an Irish person yet.
Just like, I don't know. People who aren't Irish have told me it sounds pretty good.
Right?
Amazing. That's awesome. First off, I noticed as been meandering through our Discord, that you've been doing a lot of like character boarding and mind mapping and things like that. And it seems like you've got like a pretty intense writing project going on. Can you tell us more about that?
I can. So it's a very intense, a very large project currently. It's going to span, I think, at least 5 books, and I have an audio drama portion of it that I also plan on doing at some point. So yeah, very large.
Part of the story will be an audio drama?
Yes. The plan for every part is, if I can do it properly, is that every part can be read or listened to individually and still have a complete, whole, cohesive story without reading any of the others.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's my hope. That's what I'm aiming for. I haven't started drafting much yet. I'm still working on book 1 chronologically.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. I have a prequel in there too. So
prior to this, have you had much like writing experience, or is this like a new venture for you?
Oh, this is a very, very old thing. I'm not sure exactly when the interest began. I asked my mother years ago, and she doesn't even remember. It's just kind of something that I've always done.
Just you were born with a book idea, you started writing.
Pretty much. That's basically how it sounds. I miss my high school days only because I got so much writing done. Mm-hmm. Because I was the type of student in school where I didn't have to try. I barely paid attention in class. I got books taken away in math class because I finished my work quickly.
Can relate.
So I remember specifically one day that I got the book taken away, and then the teacher sat down and I reached into my bag and I pulled out a second book that I had. He didn't take that one away. He just left it. It was like, fine, I give up.
Like, I don't get paid enough for this. What kind of books kind of influenced you growing up?
So I basically skipped over the children's and YA. I remember having the Bernstein Bears books, but I had 4 younger siblings, so those were just there. But my father in the living room had like a half bookshelf that had, I think, every Dritz book that was out at the time. So R.A. Salvatore is really where I got started in the high fantasy.
Mm-hmm. How would you say your characters that you play in your tabletop role-playing games relate to your love of like fantasy and reading? Like, do they at all even?
I'm not sure if I'd say that they relate so much as that they've just kind of both always been a part of my life. Like, I've been playing tabletop games since, like, probably original D&D, but it was a D&D. I don't actually remember much about that at all, because I was really little. This was before kindergarten even started. I was really little. I was playing in the womb. More or less. I think that notebook is in Texas still with some of the stuff that I haven't moved up here yet. Otherwise, I'd grab it. But yeah, so I've been playing tabletop games since before I even started writing. So storytelling has kind of always been a part of my life, because when I was older but young, my father would GM for me, just one-on-one shots even.
Oh,
and
so
he was a
cool.
very, very roleplay first GM.
So as you think about like you mentioned your dad GMing for you, and your like one shots, like and sitting on your mom's lap and playing tabletop games, how often did you guys play? Did you play as like families? Was it extended families? Like what did game nights look like for you?
With the tabletop stuff, it didn't happen much past about the time I started kindergarten, because we moved state right before I started, so I was like 4 or 5 when we moved that time. So that group was in Illinois, and we were now in Kansas. So that group didn't last. But that was a group of, I think, my mom and dad's friends would get together, I think weekly it was. And I was old enough to, I guess, be up.
Yeah, you wanted to play.
Apparently I did, yeah. Once I reached, I think, about high school, I got a group together myself, and my dad would GM for us. Mm-hmm. So, like, we'd be in my basement, we'd bring snacks, and my dad would GM. I remember introducing my best friend at the time, and her very first roll that she made was a natural 20.
Oh,
and it was like exciting. It was like a stealth check, and I just remember my dad going, "Nope, you're poof, you're gone." It was great.
That's so cool. We've talked about a little bit about your Irish accent.
Yes.
Do you do accents much, or is that?
That was actually the first one that I've really ever done, at all. I get super, super self-conscious about trying, like, sounding like an idiot, let's be honest, by trying accents. But I love accents and different dialects, and so I don't know. It was really weird at first. It was really horrible at first. Don't ever go back and rewatch the original early Dresden episodes. It was terrible. It was all over the place.
How have the things that you love and put your time and your energy into, be it writing, tabletop, or anything else, like how does that help you navigate your mental health?
I think especially with early when I was starting streaming, I stream a bit on a couple other channels that aren't REM, but REM is where I'm mostly at now. But especially early days streaming, I couldn't watch the chats because my anxiety would be like, no, I can't, people are watching me, I can't know that. Now I'm in chats BSing with everybody. Now I'm heckling the GM alongside them as I'm playing.
Yes.
So I've never really been much of a public speaker because of I don't want to look like an idiot in front of people, and I feel like I'm going to, despite the debate class that I took in high school. Like, I took that and it was horrible. You might notice sometimes on camera, like, my face will get real red, which I think this camera doesn't pick up too much on because I can feel it right now.
Now it's just like a nice little rouge.
Yeah, it's a lot worse in person. And that's in part because of that anxiety and I don't want to look stupid. I think that's probably actually most of it, but my face just kind of does this too because of my complexion.
Yeah, no, I relate to that. There is this nerve-wrackingness, especially in streaming, right? You're live, like
I can't edit it.
Yeah, edit it. Yes.
As for the depression side of things, like that was the anxiety. The depression side of things here, especially recently. Well, I say recently. I basically have that landmine all the time. I wish I had seasonal depression. Seasonal would be so much easier to deal with. But
nah.
For me,
Can
at least,
confirm
yeah,
it's not.
It doesn't affect the tabletop or the streaming side of things so much. Sometimes I might be more inclined to be like, hey, I don't mind if we miss a week because I'm, having a rough time of it. Though the anxiety means that I'm not the one to propose canceling it because I don't want to let anybody down.
Mm-hmm.
But here, especially recently, like I mentioned trying to work on this new book, which I have titled right now 3 Steps from Perfection. And
it's a great title.
There's a lot of meaning to it, and I'm very happy with it. I've got almost half the book planned out in rather decent detail, and the rest of the book in my head. But my depression and the executive dysfunction that comes with that, I'll sit down when I get home from work, and I just physically cannot start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been having a rough go with dealing with that. Still navigating and trying to figure out how to push myself out of that.
Yeah, it's a challenge. You have those days for sure of just, well,
4 weeks.
I got out of bed today. So that's that. That's today.
Yeah, I got out of bed, I walked the mile to my day job, I walked the mile back home, and now I'm going to sit here and play Mass Effect, because I can't do anything new.
My game of choice has been Minecraft. When I can't organize the things in my real life, I restructure villages in Minecraft.
Do what you gotta do sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Ava, this has been really fun. It's been really fun getting to know you. I love learning how your mind is really just full of squirrels, each running on their own little hamster wheel, chasing ideas. And I'm
you have no idea. They're out here like ping pong balls, and then two of them will collide, and that's just
they're just talking
best
shop.
worst.
They're like, "What about this idea? Yep. But what about this idea? Yep. Like, they're just going. Ava, this has been such a good time. And it is now time for our final question. And on Insight Check, our final question is always on your real life character sheet. What is your class, specialty, and weakness?
All right. So class would be wizard. Because of all the years I've spent studying and training with my writing. And specialty would be evocation, because bringing ideas, feelings, and emotions to other people's minds and to life, really.
Beautiful.
And weakness would be fire for the humorous answer, because all of my ideas are books and on paper, and please don't burn them. A slightly more realistic answer, weakness would be public speaking.
I love it. It's now time to roll your insight check. I said at the beginning that I once played Hermione in a movie. How about you roll your insight check to see if you know if that is true or not?
Well, it's not quite the natural one that I promised you before we began, but it is a 4.
It's a 4. As you keep staring deep into my eyes, you're not quite sure. It's possible I could have been Hermione in a movie, but you've seen the movies and you don't remember me being Hermione. Who knows?
It was a small production.
Who knows? Well, we came, we saw, we insight checked. And that's all for this episode. I want to give a special thanks to our guest, Ava. Ava, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
We loved having you. And by we, I mean me and Tom, our tech god. Yeah, we also want to thank you, our REM PCs, for tuning in. Make sure that you join the Patreon for exclusive content and opportunities. And there are links and info in the video description below. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time. Bye.